Hey guys, it's Tana and welcome back to my channel. Real quick before we get started, this picture coming up is the third card from the Club Cersei video, the one that was somehow corrupted and there was no picture on my screen, which thank you for letting me know because I had no idea it was fine when I watched it. So I have a story to tell you along with explaining the technique video. But first I have a small order from Ink Road Stamps. This is my first order from Ink Road. I talked to Laura a lot on Instagram, back and forth in direct message. Love her, she's a doll. Can't wait to use these, and actually I've already used them. You guys just haven't seen it yet. So, free gifts. This little tiny gold metallic ink pad and these sequins came free with my purchase. Love it. Wait till you see how sparkly these sequins are. I want to tell you real quick so I don't forget to tell you later. I have another bat story for you guys. Look how sparkly these are. And I also want to put a disclaimer out there. I did this art technique video because a lot of you were asking for it, but that by no means makes me an expert at using arteza nor zig real brush markers. I do the best I can, and I tried to think of different ways to use them. You will see that one piece of cardstock already has umbrellas printed on it that are done, and that's just to make the video shorter, but we will compare them. This is her alpha block letter stamp set. She also has solid alphabets, but I like this because you can color them yourself and cater them to whatever you're making. And that little set was just an extra set of vowels and things. This set here is handmade. Has different sentiments and the same sentiment with different fonts. Handmade by, store-bought with love, found it online. Delivered to, card tracker, will notify me if thrown in trash. I love that one. Baby don't hurt me with a do not sign with somebody throwing a card in the trash. By opening this item, you have hereby agreed to keep it forever. So funny. And then those little, I call them jungle flowers. One's a fern, one looks like it's a hibiscus leaf. And I used that stamp as well, and I cannot wait to show you guys. And that card suits me to a T, except I craft at night. Now, I did not make a big order from Simon Says Stamp. This was, in fact, the only thing I bought. I saw this die on a Save the Crafty YouTuber video from the Hop. And I just fell in love with it, had to have it. Love the shadow, the words with the shadows behind them. And I don't have a lot of them. Don't do what I did. Don't buy one item for like $10 and then pay $7 in shipping. That was stupid of me. I should have waited, but I wanted it, so I didn't wait. So I paid almost double price because of shipping. And then I would have bought this with Simon Says Stamp to make the order a little bit bigger, but I think they sold out. I think that's either they didn't have it or they sold out. So I made my very first purchase from Honeybee, and they gave me this little bee here. I think it's so cute. I already used it once. I have some plans for some other cards with it. I don't have a little bee, I don't think. Maybe one bee in a lawn fawn set, but this bee is just too cute. They also gave me this little thank you postcard. It's going to be the first thing I color for the 30-day coloring challenge, which starts on Saturday. And I picked up this Catherine Pooler Blackjack ink pad because it was in the clearance section of their site. And this is dark gray, as you're about to see. And it was on my list of colors to get. So I swiped that up for like two and a quarter cheaper than usual. And now I got this stamp set and the one coming up. This one's called Car Show, and I saw these on Kelly Ledevola's channel, and I had to have them. I have been looking for something to do Jax's birthday invitations with, and we're behind on birthday parties right now. And when I saw this on her channel, it was perfect because I can use it for masculine cards too. And this stamp set you see here is called Father's Day. But you can use a lot of these for different masculine cards. It's not just Happy Father's Day. To the best, coolest, best dad ever. There's a lot of combos that you can make. I'll always be your little girl, daddy's little girl, papa, grandpa, the man, the myth, the legend. So a lot of things you can do with that. This stamp set is originally what I was going to use to do this combination video with the coloring. And I had actually stamped them out because I'll be using them on teachers' cards. But then I decided it'd be too difficult to compare, so I used the umbrella from that set, that was from Word plus or W plus 9. And as you can see, there's the watercolor paper already done, and we'll look at that at the end. And that's 140-pound watercolor paper. Here's a list while I start coloring here of the arteza markers I used in this video. Two pages there you saw of colors. So let me tell you before I do this bat story. This is how I split it up technique wise. Now that first umbrella, those first two colors are one color of that shade and then blend it out with a blender pen. Now I have two blender pens. I have one by Tombow and one by Zig. I prefer the Zig. For some reason I have a hard time with the Tombow, but I know a lot of people who love the Tombow blender. I also want to try a Stampin' Up. I'm pretty sure it's Stampin' Up blender pen. A lot of people swear by those. And then on the second half of this umbrella, I started to do two colors blended out with the blender pen. And I think I thought I was going to split it up on the other umbrella like this also. But I don't think I did that, so we'll have to pay attention when that umbrella comes up. But anyway, this one's split up. The first two sections, orange and blue, have one color blended out with a blender pen, and the other two have two colors of that shade blended out with the blender pen. Honestly, though, I don't see much of a difference shade-wise between using one and two colors with the blender pen in that small of a section. Maybe in something larger. So sorry if you can hear them screaming in the background. I really asked them to be quiet, but nobody listens to me. And I can't afford to delay this voiceover anymore. Moving on. That second umbrella that we're about to do is one color blended with water. And I'll name these again as I go along, but I just wanted to go through the different things I did in this video because this is all I really, when you guys say technique video, this is where my mind went. Then down below this umbrella we're working on now, I did two colors blended out with water. And the one next to that on the right, underneath the first one on the right, is just two markers, two different shades of that color with no water and no blender pen. Underneath that yellow one you can see in the video there is the lightest Catherine Pooler ink that I currently have. And I wanted to try out a Catherine Pooler ink for no line coloring because it's, they're water reactive. So I wanted to see what would happen. And then right next to that to the left is the color I usually use for no line watercoloring, which is Barely Beige Dye Ink by Simon Says Stamp. And then down at the bottom, the other umbrella is heat embossed to show you how much easier it is to do whatever you're going to do with these pens. It helps prevent with leakage and everything else. So, I mean, there's really not much for me to explain here. If you're watching the video, you can see how much of a color I lay down. I will tell you as a tip, I usually, when I use a water brush, I use it empty. I have a little acrylic block there in the upper left that I have some water squeezed out on. And I get my water from there, and the reason I do that is because I have a hard time controlling how much water comes out of the water brushes when I'm doing something like this. So I like to be able to control the amount of the water, and I can do that better if I'm picking it up from an acrylic block. I also wanted to make sure I tell you, if you're impatient like I am, that I suggest you skip, leave space in between where you're adding water, if that's what you're doing is blending with water, and let it dry, or also use a heat gun to heat it up and dry it faster, because as you'll see later in the video, I had a lot of spots that leaked because I was too impatient and didn't wait for it to dry. I will tell you that on the Catherine Pooler No Line Coloring, the yellow umbrella, I used the darker shades of each color. And on the Barely Beige No Line Coloring, I used the lighter shades of each color, just so you could see the difference in, what effect you're getting and what you want to go for. There are two rectangles drawn on that paper, and I'll explain those in a little bit. I honestly, after doing this technique video for you guys, think that these markers blended with water looks better on watercolor paper. I don't know why, I just think it looks better personally, but they work on both Bristol and watercolor. And by the way, if any of you guys know of any other papers that you can blend these markers on besides Bristol and watercolor, let me know, because I don't know of any. Let's see, where was I? I made notes this time, guys, so I wouldn't forget to tell you anything. I think that using a shading technique, whether with two markers or markers and water, is more apparent on the watercolor paper than it is on the Bristol paper. But that just might be my lack of experience. So you'll have to play around with it and practice like I did. For one example each on the no-line colorings, I used my lightest, I already told you this, my lightest color of Catherine Pooler ink to see how it reacted with the water reactive ink. I will tell you that when I used the blue on the no-line coloring, the Catherine Pooler no-line umbrella, the blue and the yellow together made a green line. So I had to go over that again with my blue marker so that you couldn't see it. So to some extent, depending on how much water you're adding, that Catherine Pooler ink will react. You just have to be careful. I did not try this with the blender pens, and I should have on the Catherine Pooler ink. I don't know why I didn't. Oh wow, I'm still way behind on umbrellas, so I guess I'll have plenty of time to tell you my bat story. Just make sure that if you're using something like the Catherine Pooler ink for no-line coloring, it is possible to use. I got through most of that umbrella without any type of reaction from the ink at all, but it will react. So you just have to be aware of how much water you use and what colors you put over it and what colors you put next to each other. Let's see, the ink I used, it was Tiara. So I used the Tiara yellow for that umbrella. And just in case you didn't get a good look at that list, the colors I used were orange and cadmium orange, bright blue and royal blue, light green and parakeet green, wisteria purple and eggplant purple. And the two rectangles is for trying to combine two different colors of real brush pens. So like the two combinations I tried, which you will see, were elephant gray and periwinkle, which is like a light pale purple, and then light green and bumblebee yellow. And before I forget, I wanted to tell you the differences that I can see in the Arteza real brush pens compared to the Zigs. Now, I've said from the very beginning, after doing my Arteza video, my review way back when I first started my channel, that they both seem to work the same. You know, you put water on them, they spread. There's really no difficulty in spreading as long as you use the right kind of paper. But I have noticed that Arteza has a slightly larger tip. And if I remember, I will put a picture or a small clip at the end of this video to show you the two and compare them. Zigs have a slightly smaller tip, Artezas have a slightly larger and longer tip. And from what I could tell from my research, they have different amounts. So from what I could tell between the Arteza website and Amazon, the most colors you can get for Arteza real brush pens is 96. The Zigs, the most I could find in a pack were 80. I don't know if there's packs greater than 80 for Zigs or if they sell extra colors that aren't in those packs as singles, but that's what I found. So 96 compared to 80. Now the prices, while I start this no-line coloring, on Amazon for Arteza, a 24 count was $20.98. A 48 count was $36.97. And a 96 count was $63.89. Also, if I remember, I'll put these prices up in my description box so you guys can compare. I just didn't want to have writing all over my video because these are a lot of prices. And then if you go to the regular Arteza website, currently when I went to the Arteza website, they were actually cheaper. So they also had a 12 pack. So the 12 pack was $13.98. The 24 pack was $19.99. The 48 pack was $33.98. The 96 pack was $59.98. So that was like a $4 difference for the 96 pack compared to Amazon. The zigs on Amazon, the 24 count was $32.08. The 36 count was $47.80. The 60 count was $74.55. And the 80 count was $98.99. And then I went to Simon Says Stamp to look at the prices of the zigs. Excuse me, my throat was getting dry. Now on Simon Says Stamp, they have a 12 pack of zigs for $41.76. That's more than the 24 pack on Amazon. They had a 24 pack for $82.99. 36 pack for $119.99. So a pack of 36 zigs on Simon Says Stamp compared to Amazon, $119.99 and $47.80. That's a huge difference. 48 pack was $159.99 on Simon. 60 pack was $199.99. And I did not see an 80 count pack on Simon Says Stamp, but they did have singles. And their single color markers ranged from $3.47 to $3.49. So like I said, that's a big difference in pricing, so I'm going to put it in the description box. And while I'm coloring now we've moved on to the Catherine Pooler No Line Umbrella. So I'll tell you my bat story. Now, I'm pretty sure I told you guys a few weeks ago that there was a bat in the house, and it scared the crap out of me, woke Jax up. I had my stepson and his girlfriend, they came over, and it was actually his girlfriend who scooped that bat right up with a towel like nobody's business and brought it outside so, we wouldn't kill it. More bravery in that girl than I ever seen in myself when it comes to bats or snakes. So I'm standing at my desk last night trying to do the voiceover for this video, and I felt more than heard a swooshing over my head, and I look up and there's a bat soaring around my craft room in my kitchen. I mean, it was close to my head. I don't know if you have my Instagram, you saw my story. I had tied my hoodie onto my head for the rest of the night into the morning. I couldn't catch this thing. I tried to look on YouTube for ideas to get it out of the house. It said turn off the lights, turn a flashlight on pointed towards an open window and door, and in the room that you think the bat is in, and leave it open. So that's what I did, except I was standing outside so I could tell if it went out the door or not. I must have been outside at 3 in the morning for a good 45 minutes, and I never saw that bat come out of the house. So when I had seen it, the last time I saw it in the kitchen, it had tucked itself into Dan's hunting book bag, which was open, and it was open leaning up against the wall where we put the shoes and where the old dishwasher is currently sitting. And so after I couldn't get it to leave the house, I turned the lights back on in the kitchen. I tried to use some bat-resistant noise, different megahertz on YouTube. That didn't work. Then I tried attracting it with bat sounds on a YouTube video. That didn't work. And this whole time, I'm like paranoid, freaking out. Didn't want the kids to get scratched if it ended up back upstairs, blah, blah, blah. Because if you're not sure if they get scratched or bitten, you have to save and capture the bat. You can't let it go. Real quick, here I am putting down the wisteria, periwinkle, and the elephant gray. And what I'm going to do on this Bristol here is try to blend them together with water. And then I'll do the same thing in the upper rectangle with the light green and the bumblebee yellow. Now, they do blend. I did get a definite purplish gray when I blended these two together. But on the Bristol, you could still see the definitive lines of where I added my color. No matter how much water I put in that area, the only thing it was doing was making the Bristol pill and separate from the cardstock. So at that point, I had to stop. I did continue to try it with the yellow and the green anyway, as you'll see in a second. So back to the story. So I'm like, all right, if I can't get this thing out and Dan's working from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m., I got to trap it. So I went and pulled the 2 extra screens from the windows that were sitting in the downstairs bathroom, surrounded them on 2 sides of the dishwasher, put a towel over the open book bag, put a towel over the side of the dishwasher that didn't have a screen, boxed it all in with my empty Sizzix box of the die cutting machine I'm giving away and the Gemini Junior box that, for the Gemini Junior I just got. Tried to box that in to hold the towels up. Put Dan's golf shirt on the other side against the top of the screen so it couldn't climb out the top. Dan came home today. He emptied everything. He tipped that old dishwasher over. He emptied the book bag outside. He emptied every shoe that was sitting in the shoe pile next to the book bag. If you look here, interrupting my story again, you can see on the watercolor paper, I'll just wait, but here I am comparing the 2 umbrellas. So, like I said, you can definitely see, I think they blend better on the watercolor paper, and that's with the blender pen. Now they blend well too on the Bristol, but I used darker colors on the watercolor and lighter colors on the Bristol for when I used one marker. But I think you get more deeper color and more saturation with the watercolor paper. Here you can see I had some bleeding because with the watercolor paper I wasn't waiting in between or drying it. And that's what I meant when I said if you're impatient like me, leave spaces and or use your heat gun. So I'll just let you guys see these comparisons. If I see any notes, I'll add them in, but otherwise I'll just keep talking about the bats. So he never found the bat. The only thing I can think of is it got out while I was outside, either out the door or back upstairs. Look at the difference. I used lighter colors on the Catherine Pooler and darker colors on the Bristol. Oh no, I used darker on both. But they look totally different. And then I used the lighter colors for the Barely Beige umbrella. And I really like the way the no-line coloring came out with the Barely Beige. You really can't see that line. And on the watercolor paper, I had to ink it up pretty good for it to go, all the way through all the grain and the divots in the watercolor paper. And you still couldn't see the ink. Excuse me. And then there's the heat embossed. But you can still see some of them blended together on the Bristol. Oh no, that's the watercolor paper. It was just it was blended with water in 2 colors and I didn't wait, so it bled. And watercolor paper will do that to you. It soaks up more water, so if you don't make sure it's completely dry, your colors are going to bleed together. So there, you see how the lines on the watercolor paper for those 2 colors blended together just basically disappeared, but on the Bristol they stayed stronger. But that's all I have for you for that. There's all my watercolor brushes, and I think I show you a couple other things. So real quick, I just want to say, the only other thing I can think of is that bat went down into the heating vent that was under the dishwasher. I don't know. I just pray that I don't see another bat tonight because I can't deal with this anymore. 5 years since we moved in this house, no bats, and then 2 in 3 weeks. That pretty much tells me there's a bat problem now. Real quick, wanted to tell you guys about Corn and Mary's Next on the Make. As you can see, it is Saturday, July 20th, Morehead City, North Carolina, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I will have Corin's YouTube channel listed below in the description box and also her Etsy shop where you can buy the tickets. More information is available on Corin's YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. And until next time, pray for me and those bats. Bye-bye.